The story of Battlestar Galactica revolves around humanity's fight for survival as the remnants of the 12 colonies attempt to persevere, having to overcome countless challenges and disappointments. Scattered amongst the various setbacks, a few notable events occurred, providing much-needed hope, serving to motivate these refugees to continue fighting in their search for a new home. One of the most important events that served to unite and uplift the weary survivors of the 12 colonies was the construction and deployment of the Blackbird prototype stealth fighter. In this video, I'd like to discuss the events that led up to the birth and flight of the Blackbird and the critical role this vessel played in the 12 colonies' fight for survival. After spending months on the run, the members of the ragtag colonial fleet saw their morale fall to an all-time low as living and working conditions deteriorated and casualties continued to mount. As the crew of the Galactica struggled to accept the destruction of their former lives, the new reality of their seemingly hopeless plight began to sink in, leading to growing frustrations and escalating tensions. At this time, Galen Tyrrell was among those who were suffering from perhaps the greatest personal turmoil as he struggled to deal with the betrayal and death of his partner, the sleeper agent and Cylon, Sharon Valeri. As the chief of the crew responsible for repairing and maintaining the fleet of Vipers, his feelings of frustration were amplified as the number of available Vipers decreased due in large part to their limited supplies. When the chief was confronted about the dwindling Viper situation by Galactica's CAG Lee Adama, the conversation ended with Lee telling Galen that nobody expected any miracles. This served as inspiration for Galen, as he realized that one of the biggest challenges facing the fleet was a lack of faith in themselves and in each other. He then began working on building a new fighter from salvaged parts intended to be similar in shape and size to a Viper. As he began fabricating the frame of the vessel, he was met with skepticism from the other members of the crew who were initially unwilling to assist him in the project, believing it to be a waste of time and energy. Chief Tyrrell persevered, and eventually, encouraged by his determination, crew members gradually began helping with the ship's construction. As the Galactica continued to suffer from the effects of a Cylon logic bomb that had infected its systems, the second-in-command, Colonel Saul Tigh, maintained a strong opinion that Galen's, quote, imaginary fighter was a waste of time, and subsequently he advised Commander William Adama to shut the project down. Adama held a different view, however, as he noted the positive impact it was having, that it was giving the crew a much-needed sense of hope and purpose as they attempted to cope amidst a dire situation. As such, he allowed the construction of the ship to continue for as long as he could, noting that there may in fact come a time in which he would have to shut it down. As the Blackbird began coming together, Colonel Tigh visited with Galen, wanting to dissuade him from continuing to work on the vessel, believing that he was heading to an ultimate failure as he maintained that the ship would never fly. In an attempt to make the Colonel understand his true motivations, Galen revealed that this ship and the work on it were all that he had left to live for. After realizing just how much this project meant to the chief, Tigh finally lent his support by clearing perhaps one of the biggest hurdles in providing the crew access to a couple of DDG-62 engines that had previously been designated obsolete. As construction on the Blackbird progressed, the design continued to evolve as the crew members working on it were able to lend their expertise and exercise their imagination as they needed to improvise in order to make the ship fully functional. The final obstacle faced by the Blackbird's engineers was the apparent lack of metal on hand which could be used as the exterior of the fighter. At the suggestion of Carl Agathon, Galen settled on the use of carbon composites, completing its transformation into a stealth-capable vessel with a design that sacrificed maneuverability in favor of speed. Its maiden flight was performed by Starbuck, who successfully was able to demonstrate the ship's navigational and stealth capabilities. The next significant threat to the survival of the fleet came with the arrival of the Battlestar Pegasus under the tyrannical and cruel leadership of Admiral Helena Kane. The contrasting ideologies fostered by the commanders of the two Battlestars eventually led to a standoff. Shortly before this standoff, the Blackbird was secretly deployed as a reconnaissance vehicle piloted by Starbuck, where it was used to scout and take several close-range pictures of the Cylon fleet and their mysterious resurrection ship. This standoff was brought to an end after the Blackbird's unexpected return, when Starbuck transmitted the images which were used thereafter to plan their assault on the Cylon fleet. Lieutenant Lee Adama then piloted the vessel for its next and final flight, as it was used in the mission to destroy the Cylon resurrection ship. After using the Blackbird to successfully disable the resurrection ship's FTL drive, Apollo was forced to eject when the vessel collided with a disabled Raptor. While the Blackbird proved immensely valuable as a stealth fighter performing flawlessly in its inaugural recon mission, the lessons learned by the crew of the Galactica through the process of the ship's construction proved crucial as they faced the adversity stemming from the arrival of the Pegasus. At the Blackbird's dedication ceremony, President Laura Roslin noted how impressive of an accomplishment the construction of the fighter was. As Galen tried to downplay its significance by saying that it was just a ship, she pushed back, praising the feat as a true act of faith. Considering everything that the fleet had been through until that point, she noted how easy it would have been to have given up, to have lost all hope. She saw the Blackbird as proof of their undying spirit of perseverance despite all they had lost, promising that they would all get through their dire situation together. Given the fact that Roslin had just learned that she had only weeks to live, the birth of the Blackbird and the determination of the crew that constructed it no doubt provided her with much-needed encouragement to continue on in her own fight against cancer and to stay strong to the end. Much to her surprise, Chief Tyrrell then revealed that the vessel had been named Laura in her honor. While the Blackbird's time in service was short-lived, the role it played during its career proved instrumental in the fleet's fight for survival. Even though the crew had previously been fighting with each other due to the growing tensions and distrust among the fleet, those who worked on the Blackbird were impelled to put aside their differences and thereafter formed a bond that would prove critical as they strove to overcome the many challenges that lay ahead. All in all, it's my opinion that the tale of the Blackbird contains many lessons. First of all, it proves the value of channeling one's negative energy into something positive and productive. It also showcases the miraculous results stemming from the efforts of those who strive to find common ground with others in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. While the Blackbird Laura left the series almost immediately after its arrival, the hope that it instilled in the survivors of the 12 colonies lived on in those who worked so hard to give it life. But I'm curious to know what you think of the Blackbird. Are there any lessons that can be learned from the creation of this vessel? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Battlestar Galactica and other sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.